Today I will be reviewing Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. This is my first superhero story that featured a female character, and this is also my first hardcover that I got, which is kind of cool. For this review, I think I'll do it without the dust cover, just so we can look at it, admire it real quick, because I never really did like an official unveiling of this one. But for this story, I do have some mixed feelings on this one, and just stay with me till the end on that one because I do have some reasons for it. And my first reason is, as I said, this is Supergirl, but the entire story is told through the perspective of this girl named Ruthie, because her father is killed at the beginning by a hunter named Cream. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that name right. It's Krem. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. But he kills her father, and then she leaves on a hunt for revenge to find him, and that's where she ends up running into Supergirl. Now, Supergirl, she only gets lines when she talks, but she doesn't talk too much actually. But whenever she's on the panels, it's always amazing, and she definitely steals the show every single time she shows up or she makes an action. This was the first panel that made me start thinking that this artwork is very beautiful. I just like how everything's done. Look, there's crypto right there too. Like, see everything about it. Even the way that her shirt's ripped to show the S. And her face too. It's so good. Out of everything I've read, even up to this date as I'm recording this, this is probably the most beautifully drawn artwork that I've seen so far. So that definitely helps it out a lot. But like I said, the story is told mostly through Ruth's point of view. So we pretty much hear her interpretation of who Supergirl is. Supergirl doesn't really tell us or really share too much. She's mostly about action, and through her actions you can see how she's hopeful, and she is a pretty good beacon in that way, and she shows some of it to Ruth throughout the story. But she ends up going along with Ruthie, and the reason is revealed later on. I won't tell you why because that's just one of the things I don't want to reveal quite yet. But I do want to say, like I said, I have some mixed thoughts about it because it is told through Ruthie's perspective, and as you can see, she gets long like panels of dialogue. All of this is her talking, and she has kind of a long-winded way of talking. But this creature is leaning on her the whole time, bothering her, and that's what that whole conversation was about. She was trying to make a point about it, and then it ends up happening again where Supergirl ends up helping her with it. But here's one of the other things that where I had a problem with. Because this thing does a lot of, where it just tells you, the story does a lot of things where they just tell you about things that happen. Because while they're traveling, there's a space dragon that ends up attacking them. And Supergirl ends up going out there to deal with it. As you see, she gets all powered up. And she flies out there to fight it. And that's it. We don't see the fight. And to further prove my point, there's one more thing in the story that happens that's just a tell, don't show. Where it says, right here in this top panel, right here, it says, our next stop was Nycelian. I will not write of what we witnessed there. Some tales are too sad to tell. And that's one thing why I have mixed thoughts on this story, because I don't like how it keeps telling you about things, but it doesn't show it. And like I said, it doesn't show this battle at all, which I was kind of upset about. I really wanted to see her fight it. There's another instance where that happens, but it's a spoiler towards the end, so I can't really show it. But as I was saying, how Supergirl is a character of action, this is her showing Ruthie how to wash her hands properly, and she doesn't judge her for not knowing. And this is why I understand why the story is told through her perspective, is because she's a perfect representation of Supergirl when she first left her planet. When she had to leave, she was young and she was angry and she didn't know any better, just like Ruthie is. And unlike Supergirl, Ruthie wanted to, or not, yeah, unlike in Supergirl's situation with Ruthie, Supergirl could actually be there for her and try to guide her so she doesn't fall into such a kind of pattern that she kind of did. Like she's a real good, I want to say foil to Supergirl, but I'm not sure if that's the right way to say it. Like I said, she's a good representation of who she was in the past. And this story does show you what it was like for Supergirl on Krypton and her experience of it. And I won't spoil it or talk about it because it's that good. It's her backstory was amazing, and it totally makes sense why she is the way she is. But I do like that she's just all about, all about her actions to show her ability of how much she cares about people and how much she notices. I don't want to get too much into this part because this is something you should also read for yourself, but this felt kind of like a detective where they're on this planet. Supergirl notices something really off about the people here, and she's been questioning all of them. And they've been all giving her this look, but Supergirl knows that something's going on here. And I'm going to just go forward just a bit. Here's another example of Supergirl's kindness because she doesn't fly. She hasn't really flown anywhere with her and Ruthie. And here she is preparing her for their first flight as they take off. And in that moment, that's when Ruthie realizes they haven't been flying anywhere because Supergirl was worried about scaring her. So they only did this because they had to. So that's what I mean about how it's not really, it's just subtle. Her her heroics are just very subtle. But for me though, as I said, I do have those problems. The reasons why I have such mixed feelings is, to me, how a story wraps up matters. And the final chapters really do matter a lot to me. And I gotta say, this story has a good first chapter, and the final chapter wraps up everything really well. So much so that it pretty much almost saved everything else. I still have my issues with everything I just said, but man, that last chapter still hits. I read this story twice. Upon reading it twice, everything I like, I ended up loving it the second time. All the things I didn't like stuck out even more on my second reading. But I still say, even though I have a lot of mixed thoughts, me personally, I would probably rate this at least an 8 out of 10 or a B. Because I feel like it shouldn't be in the C tier or a 7 out of 10 because the artwork and the story has some good elements to it, some good humanization of Supergirl as well. And another reason why I say I have mixed feelings and why I don't really, it's hard for me to recommend this story is I feel like a lot of it, if you're going to like it or not, a lot of it is going to depend on how you feel about Ruthie. Because, like I said, she talks a lot. Pretty much the entire comic is just her talking. So, like I said, it's going to depend on how much you like her character. And to me, I'm very indifferent. I don't love her character. I don't hate her character. She's just kind of just here. And I don't want to spoil the ending too much. If you want to skip forward a couple seconds, because I just want to say one sentence about it. Because the thing I liked about the ending is it felt like a good compromise between Supergirl and Ruth about what they did. And that's all I want to say about the ending. But as my first comic, with a female character. I really, really like Supergirl. She's a really amazing character. I do like how she's all about the action, and she's not really that much about playing games either. When she's interrogating people, asking them questions, she kind of has a short fuse. Like, you only have a couple chances to answer before she just blows up. But I kind of like that about her. I like how different she is from Superman. I really like that a lot. But like I said, she was my first female superhero, and that's one thing I like about reading comics, because I thought my first female superhero was going to be Wonder Woman, but it just happened to somehow end up being Supergirl. That's why I like reading comics, because you never know what's going to come your way. But like I said, to me, this is an 8 out of 10 or a B tier. Even though I have those problems, this story stuck the landing really, really well. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Like I said, it's hard for me to recommend it because I'm so iffy on how the reader would react to just a whole story based on through the perspective of another character who's not Supergirl. So if I did have to give any advice, I would say if you can, wait for the compact that comes out in January, because that's only $10. Because I think this is $25 for the hardcover when I bought it. It could have gone up since then. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that review, and I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on the next one.